What's good, everybody? We're back at it again. Another sample tutorial. This week we're going to take a look at how I make a Giveon type sample. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so starting with our chords, we first have a D sharp minor ninth into a C sharp major ninth into a C minor seventh flat 5 or half diminished, just a different voicing for that, and then we end on a sharp major ninth. So all together is what it sound like. My goal for these chords was to create a moody vibe, but then end on a lighter or happier resolution, and that's where that A sharp major ninth comes into play. So that first sound was a piano from Sky Keys, soft piano preset. Moving on to our second sound, it is another keys from Analog Labs. Let's take a listen. Try to make it blend as much as I could into one piano, and my mixer track looks like this. We're really taking some crazy cuts in the low mids. Really want to take some of the low end out of it and really just try to make them sound like one. Throwing on a pure play reverb from UA, throwing in some R bass to just kind of bring back some of the low end into it. And let me play what it sounds like without it, and with it you can kind of see what the point of it is. This is without. That's with it. So just a slight, almost roomy addition that brought in, and then I'm throwing in some this UA tape on the Crunchy Keys preset, and ending off with another EQ and a compressor. Moving on to our next sound from Omnisphere, it's just a pad. Mixer channel for this just has a EQ taking out some of the lows and just kind of brightening it up a little bit with that EQ. For my last sound in the main section, we have a preset from Sky Keys. I think it's another pad. And for this mixer preset channel, I'm just taking out the low end again, taking out some dips in the low mid just so it doesn't conflict with my other main sounds, and then throwing on some chorus to just complete the sound off. All together, they sound like this. Moving on to the live bass that I played in, let's go ahead and take a listen. So something really simple, easily repeatable, but doesn't get too boring. Let's go ahead and take a look at the presets for this, starting off with an EQ just to take out the low end from my basses. Trying to take out around anything below that kind of 60 to 70 hertz range. Throwing on a compressor. Moving on to my parallel compression channel, same thing, just taking out anything kind of below 70, but also taking a little bit more highs out in this one, and then also just slamming the compressor a bunch. And then into my bass bus, throwing on some Pultec EQ, SSLG bus compressor for some glue, and then a soft clipper. All right, so there are a ton of elements that I kind of threw into this sample to kind of really bring it to life. Let's start with the guitars. Here's the first section. The second section. So they're all different guitar samples, but they all lay within the same vein of the genre. Let's go ahead and take a listen to my first mixer channel preset. For that guitar, throwing on some chorus, a pure plate reverb, and I'm also compressing this sound. For my next guitar, see where the channel is, throwing on some EQ just to really brighten up the guitar, but also taking out the low end from it. Some more pure plate and a compressor. And for the last guitar sound, throwing on some Valhalla vintage reverb and an EQ to just kind of bring down the volume a bit. Let's move on to some of the kind of soulful elements like my violin, trumpet, and a flute sound. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this composition. All right, so a lot going on there. Some nice samples from Splice that I was able to kind of piece together. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the mixer channel effects for these sounds. Starting off with this violin, just taking out the lows from it and just doing a small cut in the low mids, throwing on some rev spring reverb and compressing the sound. For my trumpet sound, I am taking out the low end again, throwing in a little bit of tape effect and compressing the sound. And for my flutes, just throwing in some reverb and compressing the sound. Moving on to some of my texture elements, let's go ahead and take a listen. All right, so for my texture, that kind of billiards room, just really just taking all of the volume out from it, just tucking it underneath in the mix. And then for that vocal sample, a couple of cuts in the low mid and just kind of brighten it up on the tail end, throwing on some chorus, a pure plate, a little bit of delay for some extra effect, and lastly a compressor. So all of my main elements feed into my instrument bus where I am EQing the low end out. So I have a place for my bass to sit, throwing on a Pultec EQ, an SSLG bus compressor for glue, and lastly a Fruity Soft Clipper. All right, moving on to my drum sample. I know it looks a little crazy, but all I'm doing is just kind of tripling up my individual samples to just kind of create something new. Let's go ahead and take a listen. All right, pretty basic, pretty simple. Just wanted something to keep the tempo and just kind of drive the beat along. Starting off with my kick. I think I'm going to start doing this thing where I'm kind of like creating a drum room where I'm putting a little bit of reverb and a tape effect on there, and also parallel compressing my drums and putting my drums in the drum bus as well. For the kick, throwing on an EQ, really wanted this kind of bright section of the kick while taking down this kind of muddy-ish low end, and then throwing on a compressor. For my snare, wanted to kind of take out the low mids and kind of accentuate the part of the snare that I wanted to hit harder, and I've been throwing a compressor on this as well. For the hi-hat sample, really wanted to get this kind of organic sound from the hi-hats in this range, so that's why I boosted it up a little bit. So kind of not a hi-hat that you hear in like a trap beat, but a hi-hat that you would actually hear live in that kind of tonal range. And then I'm throwing on a compressor as well. And then for this, the open hi-hat, just kind of just bringing it down in volume altogether. That drum room, like I said, I'm putting all of my individual elements into this, throwing on some Valhalla vintage reverb. Then I'm using an Abbey Road J37 tape stereo, and I'm just kind of throwing the saturation up with the MHB drum room preset. For my drum parallel compression, just have a 1176 compressor on parallel drum crush, and then that routes into my drum bus where I have a Pultec EQ, SSLG bus compressor, a tape J37 from Arturia, and lastly a Fruity Soft Clipper. Now that I've gone through all the elements, let's take a look at my master channel effects, where I have a Pultec EQ, an SSLG bus compressor to glue everything together, a J37 tape from Arturia, parametric EQ, and a Fruity Soft Clipper. All right, before I go into what the sample sounds like all together, talk a little bit about arrangement. For the beginning, just wanted the pianos to kind of talk by themselves, along with some of my violin and trumpet sounds. Then into kind of like the verse or pre-chorus, I wanted to take some of that extra soul elements out and just kind of leave my piano with my pad, just to kind of keep it clear and really leave space for an artist to sing on. And then finally for this last chorus section, just throwing all the elements back in there, just kind of bring it back home. So let's go ahead and take a listen to the final product. All right, that's it for me. Let me know what you guys thought of this week's sample tutorial, and let me know what you guys want to hear in the next video. It's your boy Billy. I'm out.